is Christy from Victory Arcade. Joining us today, we have Jason Wishnov from Iridium Studios, here to talk about his Kickstarter-funded project, There Came an Echo. Tell us a little bit about it, Jason.
There Came an Echo has kind of a weird genre. It's a voice-controlled, real-time strategy game. And in a lot of ways, it's typical to a game similar to, say, XCOM Enemy Unknown or any other RTS, but the key differentiating feature is definitely the voice commands, which people have been a little reticent in the past. They've been burned, shall we say, by some games that didn't implement it quite perfectly. But we're really confident we've got it working. We're using Microsoft's technology, the absolute latest in research and development. So it's really accurate. It's really fun. You get to talk to your soldiers. They talk back. And there's a lot of cool features we've been doing with it. So we're really excited.
Oh, that's awesome. So are you actually going to be using an Xbox Connect with this, or is it mainly with like a headset?
Most players, we're targeting the PC right now. It might, hopefully in Mac and Linux as well. It might be on consoles in the future. It might not. We still have to talk to our partners regarding that. But we imagine most people will be using a headset, which most people have. You could theoretically even use something like a webcam microphone, though the quality might not be as great. That said, the Xbox Connect is totally supported. If you have one, you can plug it into your PC. And the Xbox Connect actually has an extra feature where if you want to, and you don't have to command your units, you can bring your hands up to your ear like you have an earpiece, and then you can command your units like that, which is clearly the coolest way to command your units. So it's a little bonus feature. But if you don't have it, a regular headset will work fine.
That's cool. Well, speaking of cool, this whole concept of being able to control the game with your voice, did you come up with that idea for the game originally, or did you kind of have a storyline involved first?
Well, I was talking to some people at Microsoft at Penny Arcade Expo up in Seattle.
Okay.
And I asked them, I was like, what are you guys looking for right now? Like, if I wanted to get a game on your system, what would be best? And they said, honestly, we're pushing the Kinect right now. And so I wasn't a huge fan of the Kinect at the time. I thought the gestures had lag. They weren't accurate, which is generally true. But I went back and I was sitting in line for the Omegathon, which everyone should go try out because the Omegathon's awesome. And I was thinking, like, what is the single coolest gesture that one person can do? And it was definitely this. So I thought about, and then I asked my friend who worked at Microsoft, I gave him a call and I said, hey, how is the voice recognition on the Kinect? And he said, it's great. So I kind of came up with the idea from there. And then I thought, what genre lends itself to voice controls? And then from there, it was real-time strategy. And then from there, it was, well, what is the gameplay going to be like? And how is the story going to fit in? So it all kind of evolved from that, like, one, oh, I should do this with my ear. And it turns out that it's actually kind of evolved from that, like, a little bit away from the Kinect. Because I realized that would limit a lot of gamers. If my primary audience is on PC, most people just aren't going to have a Kinect. So I kind of took that idea and just shifted it away to the regular headset without this. But that's kind of where it came from.
How do you think players are going to react to this kind of gameplay style?
They have to try it. They have to. There's no... I could say that we're getting amazing recognition rates and I can say all these great things about it, but the truth is no one's going to believe it until they try it. And you had a chance to try it out just a couple minutes ago. Hopefully you thought it worked pretty well.
It was really fun. He actually got to write in the commands and I was able to say, not the gumdrop buttons!
Yeah, so that's another feature.
In that voice, and it worked.
Yeah, in that voice. So you can do that if you want. Yeah, one feature of the game is that we have your default commands. We have take cover, fire at will, proceed to Delta 4. But if you don't like any of those commands, you can go in and write your own alternate commands, I call them aliases, that do the same thing. So if you don't like take cover, you can say get the hell down. If you don't like fire at will, you can say cap those, beep, anything you want. So it's really fun. I think a lot of gamers are going to have a lot of fun, creating their own commands. And one feature we're actually looking at is taking your entire list of aliases and uploading them to Steam Workshop for other people to try out and download. So people can trade packs, and one person will have an East Coast rapper pack and another person will have a My Little Pony pack, and they can trade because those two people obviously want to trade with each other. Yeah, they'll be best friends, obviously. Yeah. So that's a really cool feature.
Nice. Well, can you tell us anything about the story of the game?
Well, no, but you did ask nicely, so I'll tell you a little bit. The story, it's really a narrative-focused experience, so I don't want to spoil too much. But the game kind of opens off similar to The Matrix, actually, where the main character named Corin, who is played by Will Wheaton, we'll get to him in a second, is kind of just at his job. He's a cryptographer. He has a nice cushy job at a desk somewhere. And all of a sudden, these agents are kind of coming after him. And he doesn't know why. He thinks it's maybe some kind of encryption or something he's broken in the past, something with codes. Mm-hmm. And in the game, though, I think it really helps cement, you're not the soldier. You're not playing as Corin. That's an AI as a character. You play the person in the earpiece. So you're essentially Morpheus in this situation. You're not running around. You don't control him with an analog stick. You're telling him where to run. You're telling him left, right, to the end of the hall, to the elevator, whatever, and guiding him to escape. And that's a really important thing that I think the players really have to understand here is that you are not actually one of those players. you're the person, like in Call of Duty, who gives all the commands. And instead of following those orders blindly and without a choice, you get to give them. So it's definitely a different type of gameplay than those shooters.
How do you think you're going to integrate the voice commands together with the storyline? Is it going to flow?
Yeah, that's really important. We're using, the game has a ton of voice acting, and you talk to the soldiers, and of course they respond with simple things like yes sir or okay or whatever soldiers say when they get ordered around. But in addition, they're going to talk back to you. They'll have questions, so maybe you'll be moving across the map, and they'll say, sir, I have a clear shot on an enemy target 30 meters away. Should I take the shot? And you have to look at the map. You have to determine, is it worth it? Or any other enemy soldiers in earshot? And make the decision, and you respond to them, affirmative or negative. So it's not just like a monologue. You're talking back and forth, and I think it really creates an emotional rapport between the player and all the soldiers. And the story is really, really important. These aren't just generic army dudes. They're people who, with one exception, have no military experience. They're learning as they go, and they all have very unique personalities. So you'll get to know them as you go along.
That's cool. Well, you mentioned Will Wheaton. Who else is going to be part of the team?
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Yes. So he's the only one we've cast definitively so far in terms of actors. Will has been absolutely fantastic. You always kind of worry in Hollywood, we're in Hollywood. Maybe he just keeps up this really great public persona, and maybe in real life, maybe he's kind of a jerk or something. That was not at all the case. When he showed up on set for the Kickstarter video, he was on time and really enthusiastic and really funny. He was great to work with. And we'll be casting for the game later this year for all the other parts too. Our art team, we're actually putting together now. That's basically why we did the Kickstarter funds. We were just at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco interviewing some people. For music, we have an amazing team. We have 3 people contributing. Our primary composer, Jimmy Hinson, who has done work on Black Ops 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and Mass Effect 2. We have Ronald Jenkins, who's kind of a YouTube sensation. He did some work on our first game sequence. And then finally, Maluka, who is a vocalist from Mexico, and she has an absolutely beautiful voice. She's going to be contributing to 2 or 3 tracks as well. We just have a great team all around. We're really excited. We're bringing on some new people in the next month, and this game is going to be made only better by their involvement.
That's awesome. Well, and you got started off with Kickstarter initially with Sequence, yes. And now with There Came an Echo. Do we expect to see more of you on Kickstarter in the future?
I think we actually are the very first video game company on Kickstarter to have 2 successful projects. We're really proud of that. Kickstarter is a great platform. It's, our first game was really weird. It was a rhythm RPG. And that's something that a traditional publisher would probably be like, no. And this game fell along a similar line. It was like a voice control. You don't want to do that. Once again, a publisher probably would not have approved this. So Kickstarter allowed us to go out directly to the backers, to the fans. And, if this is essentially capitalism at its finest. If they didn't want our product, they wouldn't give us money. It wouldn't be funded, and it wouldn't be getting made. But because they showed interest and they were willing to contribute, now There Came an Echo has a great budget. We're really excited. We can do a lot with it. As far as the future, why not? It depends how There Came an Echo does. Because if we get if it does super well and we get a ton of money, we don't want to ask for money that we don't necessarily need from our fans and our backers. But if we have another great idea and it's another kind of off the wall, quirky thing, and it probably will be, knowing me, we might be back. It all depends.
So the game is slated for a June 2014 release.
Yeah.
Are you guys on projection for that goal? And
yeah, just so you know, we came up with that date with a magic 8-ball. We just shook it a bunch of times.
Nice.
It's very hard to predict software development's completion times. All these things come up. It could be anything as random as Microsoft saying, we need to, we found one bug and it takes a whole month to resubmit. Or it could be something like our art director gets sick somehow. There's so many random things, and coding is very imprecise. That said, June 2014 does give us a little leeway. That's definitely, we've got over a year to make the game. It could even be a month or 2 early if everything goes really well. It could be a month or 2 late. It is hard to say, but we'll be keeping Kickstarter backers updated the whole way through. They're going to know everything that happens, for better or occasionally for worse. You always run into some setbacks, but we'll handle them. We got this.
And for those that didn't know about your Kickstarter fund, how can they find out about your games now? You can go to our website. It's www.playiridium.com. It might be on the screen somewhere. I don't know. You can check out our updates there. We have our blog on the page as well. And we'll be doing some press releases. We'll be doing some preview builds. We'll be doing lots of stuff because, once again, the game, we may set up a booth at PAX East because I can say the game is great until I'm blue in the face, but until gamers get to try it for themselves, they're not going to believe it. I know that when gamers try it out, when they see how accurate the voice commands are, when they see how engaging an experience it is, they're going to be really, really excited.
So we really want to go out there and connect directly to them, as opposed to just through some generically worded press release or something like that. So yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Christy from Victory Arcade. For more news on games, comics, and anime, subscribe to this channel, Victory Arcade.